All right, everyone. Hi. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Shane Snipes. I'm this week working on the National Entrepreneurship Week web series. As many of you guys know, I coordinate the entrepreneurship degree program. It's a 2-year program coming out of BMCC in New York City. So this is a chance for me to talk with New York City entrepreneurs and folks who are experts in the field. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship education throughout the week. We'll also be talking with all kinds of different folks from different industries, some on health and wellness, others in finance. We'll talk about funding startups and what that really takes and how you do it. We'll also speak with some very interesting startups that have sort of picked a niche and have built that niche. And thanks to the internet and thanks to the way that our gig economy and some of the other catchphrases out there is working, we're actually able to do that. So I have Francine here with me. I'm so excited to have you here, Francine. And it's Francine Krulak, right? You there?
Unfortunately, I completely lost you on that last part.
Oh no, it's totally fine. That's good. It was all intro. So
No, I just missed the last part. You said you have Francine, and that was the last I heard.
Oh yeah. So here I am with Francine Krulak, and it's just phenomenal. She is one of the inspirational people. We have a crossover in terms of the way we see the world. In other words, this concept of mindfulness and how mindfulness is an important component. Some of you guys know my PhD research is in the space of at-risk college students and when they're trying to learn entrepreneurship education, how does mindfulness assist with that? And so that's actually what I'm working on for my research. So what a great overlap, right, Francine?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Francine, I wanted to first off welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you in the show and so excited to hear about your background and what you've been able to accomplish through the years. Francine is quite a prolific entrepreneur. Like myself, you kind of go out and you sort of discover these things, these passions, these interests that you have, and we sort of build these into our lives in different ways. And I see that, Francine, you've kind of done that with BuddhaBooth. You also work with a company called La Playa. And then you do some work with something I am interested in chatting about briefly, just because it is a really cool concept. And that is it the Fabrilope?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk briefly about that just because it comes from a sustainability perspective. And so we'll talk through that part too. But she's had a varied background. We're going to start out from the very beginning, though. I'm going to have her chat with me. I want to know, because everyone wants to, I think in their mind, they have this vision of starting a coffee shop. And I see you have Jitters Coffee Shop as one of the things that you worked on for 4 years of your life. So you really built some things in to this new business that you started out. What made you go in that direction back then?
So it was one of those things that was inspired by, convenience for starters. My mom lives in the Seattle area. So I have family there and friends, and I had spent a little time there. And one of the things they have everywhere is drive-through coffee shops. And you don't have to get out of your car. You just drive up, you get your latte or whatever it is that you want for the day, and you just keep going on your merry way. And I, in the mid-90s, moved to Cleveland and thought that the coolest thing would be to have drive-through coffee shop around there because there wasn't one, and had some ideas of incorporating the drive-through with like a Starbucks style type place. And Starbucks wasn't all the rage at the time. It was sort of, there wasn't a lot of them around. And came up with these ideas, and it sort of evolved into making it just a drive-through. And so I designed and built out a drive-through coffee stop.
So I see a pattern happening here. You like small, cozy spaces, right?
Yes, I do. Exactly. It was really cool having a little space. You didn't have to do a lot of maintenance, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived also in Kirkland, just next to
Seattle. So yeah, right.
Yeah. And so I saw those everywhere too. It's such a fascinating car coffee culture in Seattle. Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
So
with the rain,
one of the great takeaways from that, starting a business and then deciding that, okay, 2004, I want to do something else. What was your takeaway from that one?
I would say that it it made me believe that you can make something out of nothing and, you know, bring something somewhat disruptive to a community that didn't have anything like it. And also join parts of a community that you wouldn't be parts of otherwise without being a business owner. And I was in Midtown Cleveland, so it was just literally a sort of an up and coming. They were redoing everything and trying to really bring, you know, retail and food services and other things to that area because it had been neglected for many years.
Yeah, and that rebirth and emergence of those areas either next to, sometimes part of urban centers, right? Sometimes they're usually they're right next to urban centers, next to the super busy business areas.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were.
Yeah, it's funny how we model our whole city, our cities in that way. So that's fascinating. What took you in 2008 to start to think about this idea of ecological issues and ecological ways of being, and it taught me a little bit through your evolution of thinking when it comes to that way of seeing the world.
Well, I can't say that I was on a mission to save the world per se, but it was certainly in, you know, in my consciousness. And I have 3 children, and I believe my niece was living with me at the time as well. And, you know, there was certainly an abundance of extra everything. And I think what you're referring to is the Faberlopes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
So it was actually, the inspiration for that was going to synagogue on Saturdays and having the rabbi give the bar mitzvah kid or any special gift or something to somebody in an open envelope or something that's unwrapped, because traditionally the more observant Jews don't tear paper on the Sabbath. And so I'm like, okay, there has to be a better way. So I created these closures or Velcro or things, you know, or little, you know, twirly button things that you can open and close on the Sabbath. And that led me on the path of realizing that they're eco-friendly, they're infinitely reusable, regiftable. And I would only buy fabrics that were end of run or extra pieces in fabric stores, or even the samples from upholstery books.
Yeah.
So I was just only reusing things that were not being used. And so that was, you know, it was definitely something conscious and, you know, creative. And I love to make things. And
talk to me about that process. You know, there are tons of makers out there, people who make things. Talk to me about that process. What is it that inspires you?
So it really, it's, you know, working with your hands and having the thing in become tangible.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm losing you a little bit, so I apologize if I'm not answering exactly what you said, because it's like going in and out.
Yeah, well, hopefully our stream is flowing into the YouTube channel okay, as far as the video, because I do see it coming and going a little bit with YouTube, but I'm not going to jump in and say anything unless I see it totally stop, because I'm assuming that it's catching it. I'm sort of going with the flow when it comes to, you know, run and gun lifestyle TV shows. This is sort of what I'm kind of used to it, in the sense that you just sort of keep going just in case. And I appreciate you doing the same. Thanks so much for the patience with that. I am fascinated at people who see the world as something. There's a need somewhere. Mm-hmm. How do you discover that need?
Well, again, in my personal experience, it's what I need. I don't think about so much what, you know, to sit around and go, you know, what does somebody else need? What does, you know, our culture need? What is whatever? It's more about, all of a sudden, I need this. And if I need it, let me ask around, let me do some research and find out if it's something other people would need as well. And what I have found is there are certain things that I felt that I needed that, you know, didn't exist. And therefore I felt it was, you know, necessary to create it. Or if it existed, it was, you know, somewhere else, or, you know, something that didn't quite fit the need that myself or other people I know needed.
Yeah, that's great. I just woke up the other morning, by the way, with a product idea like that. I was like, why don't we have these?
I have a list of those too. I can't wait. I love my business and I'm moving forward with it, but I want to get to a point where I can release some of my other products that I have in my head and that I've, got a few little prototypes floating around of.
Yeah, right. I love that. Yeah, I'm in the process of thinking about how to prototype this thing because it's really interesting that there's not a solution to it, and I'm wondering like why there isn't a solution, because I think there would be if it was easy, right?
True, or somebody else thought of it but they didn't create it, and that's what it comes down to. And as you study this, is many people have the ideas, but not many people make them happen.
Yeah, yeah. Um, as a fellow entrepreneur in the sustainability space, one of the things that I did is I created these things that measured sustainability. Um, and then I sold those to a sustainability consulting firm, like algorithms, the math behind measurement of sustainability. So for me, like you, I saw a need. Like these people are trying to create these calculations, but they don't know how, and they have no idea what to do or where to put it or how to change it if it gets updated. There are all these problems, right? Um, and that's kind of how I see the world, is sort of the way it's been. Do you find now that you're really far along with BuddhaBooth and you've got beautiful, beautiful Buddha booths out there? I do want to share with the folks who are on the call with us today or watching this what you actually have, because I'm like stunned at the beauty of these things. They have so much elegance to them that almost any person would want to have something like this there. So let me just go through and I'll show you some of the Buddha booths. So this is a Buddha booth website, and this is what they look like. They are phenomenal.
Thank you.
Going into these and looking at the shapes of them, they bring to life what mindfulness is. So I'd love for you to talk with us a little bit about that. When we see this and we see these products and the way these look, I am so happy that someone is creating these and making these spaces. What was it that inspired you to create these spaces?
The original inspiration was massive sensory overload. I had been, I'm a single mom. I was working 4 jobs, and one of them was with a bunch of, we'll say, millennials, and we were going on site doing work, backstage concerts and for Major League Baseball and creating customized items. And it was days of just almost no sleep, big loud environments, and I was driving and said, I just need a freaking Buddha booth. It was, like literally that was kind of it. And it was like, I had been in this place and not had a place to make, to catch my breath, even to make a private phone call, nothing. There was just nowhere to go. And, it really hit me hard. And I thought to myself, again, if this is something I'm craving and needing, I can't be the only one. And so I, cleared my schedule for a week, and I meditated and I read entrepreneur books, and I started calling everyone I could think of to help me bring it to life.
Okay, so talk to me about those first steps then, because that's really important when it comes to your idea. So you have, you feel this incredible urge to do something, and then you just start doing it. I know that feeling, and you just call everyone and email people and talk to folks and do all that. What's next though? Like, what's the next step after that really got you off the ground, you feel like? Because you have physical Buddha booths, literal physical Buddha booths made. This isn't like renderings.
This is true.
Yeah.
In fact, I think somewhere around here I have my original, I was making them out of shoe boxes to kind of get a feel for it. But I think that speaking about that journey in particular is really about talking to people, and nobody shot me down. There was not a single person I talked to that said, oh, that's weird, that's creepy, that's not good. Every single person I spoke to thought, wow, like that's cool, that's neat. How can I help you? And, from, silly things like porta potty companies and, like anywhere that, things that were already engineered for people to sit in, people getting familiar with the community of meditation and, the people who teach and the people who practice and corporate wellness people. Like there's just all of these different types of people that I was able to talk to. So it just inspired me and it gave me the fuel that I needed to keep going, even though it seemed like the craziest thing to do.
Yes. What parts and pieces of what you had done before do you think fed in directly to that initial launch phase?
That's a good question. So I think everything I did. So the coffee shop of creating something out of nothing. I had a coin-op game business where I, operated these coin-operated games, and I go into like bowling alleys and pizza parlors and get them to let me place these big old things in there and, make my living in quarters. So the courage to interact with people that I didn't know, the coffee shop, meaning creating something, in a place out of, my head, the fabric envelopes, the physical, creative, artistic aspect of it. And, kind of, some ways it's a novelty, not a necessity. And then to bring it into what I'm doing now is to feel like I have something that is not just a novelty, it is a necessity for people. And so I would say the number one piece that helped me bring this to life was my network from doing, so you mentioned La Playa Insurance. So I do their business development for New York. And those relationships and the networking and the people that I have met by doing a lot of that were instrumental in helping me think this through.
Yeah, yeah. It's so nice to speak to another kindred spirit. So do you find yourself now being more mindful?
Oh, completely.
What's affected you?
It definitely, I think, but I wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't tapped into that beforehand. And that's what made me need this. Is I probably about 4 or 5 years ago kind of came to a place where I took a journey of healing and learned to do Reiki and, started healing art programs and doing things that were mindful and necessary to, heal and enrich the soul. And that's because of that, it's allowed me to have a different view and aspect of what I do and why. So technically I'm a furniture maker, but, with a wellness mission. And my goal is to make sure that I can provide, quiet, safe spaces for people. And because of my journey, this is how I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to pinpoint sort of 3 things as we've had this great discussion, sort of background pieces, and how much of what you've done relates to these 3 things. And we'll talk to each one just because I want to kind of fine tune some of the possibilities of people who are listening. The first is purpose, the second is passion, and the third is how to progress. In other words, how to move forward. And there are all kinds of components to each one of these. We'll talk about just a few of them in the time we have left. And please, I have a queue of questions for my students already. But please, if you have social media questions, my phone is blowing up over here, buzzing. So I will look at some of those Twitter questions and get to some of those too. But I do want, what's purpose mean in relationship to your business, do you think? Have you specifically fine-tuned that, and is that important?
So I lost your last little bit there, but the question was, what is purpose and how does it affect my business?
Exactly.
And the way I go?
Yeah.
So I would say for me, the purpose is to help people feel better. And how that works through my business is creating a product that's comfortable and that is relevant to helping people feel better in certain environments.
How much did you define that at the very beginning?
I don't think I thought about it in the same way. It's sort of something that progressed because I knew that, it goes back to that novelty versus necessity. and feeling like, you know, we did all these VIP parties at Coachella. So of course it was like fun and cool and, you know, but it was a novelty. It wasn't a necessity. It's not like people really did escape environments because they're out there to party. And what I found is in educational environments and corporate environments and things like that, it's really kind of necessary to provide people with a, you know, sort of a sensory safe zone during, you know, during their workday, during finals week, during times, and it just feeds into what I feel my purpose is, and that's to help people feel better.
How scattered was your initial purpose, and then did you have to fine tune it?
Absolutely. So it was completely scattered. It was like, okay, I have these cool things. People like them. What do I do with them? I like them. I think they're great. No, it was, yeah, the purpose wasn't necessarily there. The vision was there. And then the fine tuning came over time as I learned my audience and who my customer was. And, you know, the more defined and refined purpose is what keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's very cool. We talked briefly about your passion in the sense that your interest and passion behind what this is came from the healing process several years ago. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's a piece of it. How does that passion maintain itself? Is it always equal? Is it always there?
Oh, come on. You're an entrepreneur. Is this one of those questions for your class so they understand that it's not like this? It's like this, you know, it's ocean waves on a regular basis. It's a heartbeat chart. It's a heartbeat, you know, it's a vital sign. No, it just, you know, it goes up and down. And, you know, this is, you know, passion is there, and it's ignited when you have the energy of other people and, you know, to keep it going. But when you have one of those weeks, you know, where you're like, oh, now what? Or I like didn't have any client engagement or didn't have, you know, certain things, of course, the passion is going to be like, oh God, you know, I got to get up, I got to do this all over again. You know, like the core passion goes, you know, with the purpose, but it wavers completely. I mean, I'm always passionate about what I'm doing, but there are plenty of days where I just don't feel like doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I hear you. I had to kind of put that out there just because I think people think once it's ignited, like it's always there. You're always like, dun, 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 dun.
Where's the blowtorch? Some days I need the blowtorch.
Exactly. I need some kindling just to like light this fire again.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. But that's where other people come in. I mean, it's helpful to have, you know, sort of the external other people who still have passion for you, or they know or expect that you still have that passion, and you know, so you can find it pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. So my students had a bunch of questions for you just because they were so curious about this idea of like BuddhaBooth, and they had like really practical questions like, how do you keep them clean, or what is this thing? Like they were very curious about it, or, you know, do people destroy them? Like, how do they maintain them? You know, very like student-centered.
Practical questions. I mean, those are questions that my clients ask me.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I can answer those right away.
I love it. Yeah.
So we use, you know, similar to, you know, what they would use in the movie theaters or on the couches in the medical center. So we, you know, use a disinfectant spray, usually, you know, like lavender, citronella, try and keep things pretty natural, but definitely can use the antiviral sprays. The thing about the booths is people don't lay down in them. So there's not the same kind of hygiene issues you would have like with somebody taking a nap in a nap pod per se. So we change out the cushions and things like that. And we upholster, you know, we steam clean the upholstery. As far as vandalism goes, honestly, with the thousands of users we've had, I've only had one incident where somebody like broke off the little handle and, you know, and pulled the curtain down, you know, in a way that I thought was disrespectful. What's that?
Was it in a school?
It was actually.
Yeah, I'm really curious. How many schools have them in it?
We've done a lot of rentals. So we've done quite a number of them, and they usually short-term basis. We've done some long-term or longer-term basis, but But yes, coincidentally, that did happen in a school, and it was a college, which is even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. They know their peers and sometimes their own behaviors, so they were asking questions relative to that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wait, I totally lost what you said.
Oh, I was just saying, my students know themselves, and they're pretty honest about how they act at times, and so I think that's where that question came from.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's the excitement of like having something that's new and cool, and without, when we work with the lower schools, they're educated on like, here, this is a special place, it's a mindful space, this is, these are the rules kind of thing. And when we sometimes work with the upper schools, if there's nobody around to like let people know this is a mindful space and this is here for you to be able to spend your time reflecting or, or meditating or praying, whatever it is somebody needs it for. But without that, of course, friends get together, they have a good time and they're like, messing around and like, oh, this is a cool little spot. And
yeah. What's your biggest potential you feel like with where you are with your business right now? Thinking about it strategically, and how did you come to that conclusion?
I have to apologize. I didn't catch the first part of that. It froze again on me.
No, it's fine. What's the biggest potential that you feel right now based on the way that you surveyed your business and the way that the business has grown in the past? And talk a little bit about how you came to that conclusion of what that potential is.
So I would say that the potential right now would be for scaling, for large growth in a way that we could obtain through mass distribution, and working with some companies that do mass distribution in various wellness and fitness environments. That's probably the biggest opportunity right now that we've got.
I would love, I was a member of one of the gym places here. I'm not going to say their name because I don't want them to get any advertising from my show. But I was a member of the gym here, and I would have used, if I had seen something like this, I totally would have sat there even for 10 minutes, which would be a short like meditation for me.
Right. And that's it. I think, gyms, again, goes back to, somebody has the time and the money to be there. Whereas in corporate environments and educational institutions, people don't necessarily have the time or the money to have that escape in the middle of the day when they're at their, moment of stress, or when they know that they want to do their daily meditation, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So, having these in those places are really what, like it's like residential facilities or corporate, areas where they're committed to providing these things for their people.
Yeah. I've seen quite a few luxury apartment buildings in the city, and I was like, oh my God, they should have BuddhaBooths here.
Yes, they should, and they probably will soon.
That's great. I love it. It's fantastic potential. A couple of other questions from, let me just check my social media again, because I did see a text come in, and I did want to, or a post on Instagram. Okay, so the Instagram post was really interesting talk you guys are having. If I'm also interested in mindfulness, how do you think you would partner with other people who are into mindfulness?
So we do that already.
Yeah.
And the way we do that is depending on the modality of like what they're doing. So if they practice, maybe they do mindfulness or meditation instruction, then they would be people that we would bring in and maybe do joint events with. Or if we're hired to bring a booth in to an environment for a wellness week or a wellness conference or something like that, we would hire these different associates who are trained to do these things to work with us and demonstrate, so the benefits and the exercises related to mindfulness and meditation.
Okay. Yeah.
That's one of the ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can't believe 30 minutes has passed. You know it?
Wow. You're right. You said it was going to fly. It flew.
Time flies when you're having fun. This was amazing. I really want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us about BuddhaBooth and about the passion that you have for it. certainly I have to go now. Do you still have one at CSI, the Center for Social Innovation?
Yes, there's almost always one there.
Okay.
And if it's not, it's usually out in the hallway on the 3rd floor. And if not, then there's usually one in the women's lab.
Yeah.
So, you know, they do move around a lot depending on the client.
Before we go, and if folks need to, you know, sign off for 30 minutes, that's totally fine. I appreciate you guys being here. Some of my students I know are watching and stuff. She's going to answer some of the other questions maybe via email.
I'd be happy to. I can answer them in any way you'd like.
Okay, cool. So I'll send those over. You can answer them in different modalities.
They can also ask me directly too. They can go on my Instagram, which is BuddhaBooths with the S on the end.
Yeah. All right, great. And my last question really has to do with the women's lab that you helped set up. Talk to me about that process, just because social entrepreneurship and creating social change through organizations is another passion of mine. And I know it's a passion of yours because you did something like this at CSI. So talk to me about that. Where did that come from? And just, you know, really fast.
Well, really fast. So I wasn't instrumental in creating it. I was one of the founding members. So as part of Center for Social Innovation, decided to create a women's lab with a different model than what was traditional. And Dave Guys, who was the founder, you know, helped to curate a number of women who he felt would be sort of thought leaders and collaborators that could create a space for the synergies and growth of many of the companies. And as a result, this is like, it's my relationships with these other women who were completely amazing that I was able to be in Google and NYU and, you know, the Green Fest, and like all of these relationships were synergistic, and we've all been able to grow because of it.
Yeah. And I just want to say to everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like the end message that Francine had for us really goes to the core of what it means to be an entrepreneur. And we really have to treasure and nurture and build and expand our networks, right? Without our networks, we can't be successful. And some of that fear, I know, Francine, we didn't get a chance to talk about that, but maybe you can answer that in an Instagram post or a Facebook post or something, where you talked about how did you get over that fear? You know, it's so scary for students.
Yeah, you can have the fear, but do it anyway. That's really it. The bottom line is you're going to have the fear, just do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, get out there, do it anyway. Thanks again for joining me on our first inaugural launch web series that we're having specifically for National Entrepreneurship Week. We'll be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with other entrepreneurs and other insightful information. Francine, I could not have had a better launch guest as part of this process. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, bye now.
Bye.